Oh, that's weird. Yeah, I'm on your channel right now. I don't I don't see a live video, but
let's see. How about now? Okay, I see what's going on. Okay, so if you are just joining us, I am here with. Are we good?
Yeah. I just refreshed your channel page.
So,
loaded
hey everybody, if you're just joining us, it seems like this stream was working live on Twitter, but wasn't going over to YouTube, unfortunately. So thank you for those of you who were patiently waiting. We are here.
We're back.
So yeah, some of you have been watching since we started about 15 minutes ago, and some of you are just joining us. So we did just listen to one track. So I think maybe we'll just go over our intros again real quick, and then move into the second one. So today I'm joined by Christopher, who is a composer, musician, YouTuber, can tell you what pitch you hear when you drop a brick kind of guy. So, and we are giving feedback on music. People have submitted their tracks. We're listening to and giving our impressions on the first roughly 30 seconds. Just what are we hearing in the production and the sample libraries and Reverb EQ? What are we hearing in motivic development and all those different things? We just listened to a little Nightmare music, which was an atonal piece inspired by Mozart, which was pretty cool. Awesome. So those of you on Twitter saw it already, I guess. And now we're going to move to our next piece. Before I do, if you could just kind of go over your quick, let us know who you are and where people can find you, and then we'll
absolutely
back into the music.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. And yeah, I'm basically a classically trained pianist. I started playing at 5, and I really started getting into songwriting and composition maybe during high school. So I went to university for piano performance, but my heart was always in songwriting and orchestration. So I really started the YouTube channel at the end of 2017 to kind of share what I know and what my inspirations were. And it's just been a really fun journey ever since, being able to work with other people, musicians and YouTubers like Ryan and other people. It's been just a really fun journey, and hopefully today's live stream gives everyone some value here for everyone who submitted music or everyone who's watching afterwards. And I want to give you a little guide if you're curious on doing mock-ups, and if you want to have a super clear, convincing orchestral sound. It's called the 10 Steps to a Clear Orchestral Sound. So it's kind of a guide that goes over 10 really fundamental concepts for the orchestra and some mixing stuff too, so that you can consider when you're working on your mock-ups, and that will kind of create a more realistic result. And I think it's really applicable to kind of what we're talking about today, because most likely it's these are mock-up stuff that you've done and using virtual instruments, which can be maybe unbalanced or not enough reverb or etc. So that should help you out. But again, yeah, thanks for having me, Ryan. I'm excited to continue checking stuff out.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So check out the chat for that orchestral guide. I just want to give a shout out and thanks to Gavin for letting me know that the YouTube had disconnected, because it was running at first when we started, and then it seemed to stop, and we were only on Twitter for a while. So we're back. So thank you for pointing us out. So we're going to grab a random number here, and we're going to listen to track 11, which we'll head over to the spreadsheet and take a look at. Track 11 is from Kevin, and hey Kevin, and it's the Cyclops. Thanks for everything all of you do. All right, that's comments on it. So we're just going to say, what are we hearing when we listen to the Cyclops? I like that these have titles. They give us some expectations, and we kind of can get our hopes up for what's to come. All right, let's see. I'll stop around 30.
Wow.
The Cyclops. So actually, no, Kevin, I know this piece is inspired by some Bernard Herrmann. What is it called? The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, I think is the score or something. It's like an old action movie. So I know this is kind of that golden age Hollywood.
Awesome.
Action music is what we've got going on here.
Beautiful.
All right. Let's see. Where do we begin?
That was a lot to kind of take in. That was super.
Something that's really good as far as an intro goes. Big, bold, just like we're into this. You kind of know exactly what's going on as soon as it
Yeah.
starts. You know, this track wouldn't work if you kind of faded in the strings and then hit us
Right.
with the wouldn't wouldn't hit it. So that's
Also
always
the
good
fact
to
that
kind of,
he's hitting us with like a tritone right away, it's like
right there you go.
you know something's gonna happen. So.
You know that this is not a friendly Cyclops.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
So I'm hearing how to put I guess what I would focus on here, and I'm interested to know what you think, is the samples. It sounds like samples to me,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. Like I can kind of hear the
Yeah.
virtual.
Yeah.
If
What
that
would
makes sense.
you? Yeah. No, I'm curious. Like, what do you think is kind of the giveaway here? Because, like, for me, I think the first couple seconds, if I was just presented it, like, I would say, yeah, it sounds, pretty good. And I think for me, the giveaway was when the strings kind of came in with their shorter notes, or it was like the marcatos or something, maybe in the 10-second or so mark. I'm not exactly sure where, but it sounded a little dry and like they sounded a little maybe a touch too loud to my ears and slightly too dry in context with everything else. But that was just the first thing that kind of jumped out
Yeah,
at me.
it was the strings for me as well. Let me find it.
Right
That.
there, yeah.
I don't think it's it probably is. I think you're right. I think it is too dry. Is the attack a little bit too
Right.
sounds that was the thing. Right away, as soon as the violins announced themselves, it was like
Yeah. Right.
find that
Right.
again. Is it maybe just that very first note fades in too much?
I
That it's
think
like,
so. I think so.
"Mwah."
Yeah. Right.
Like,
You'd expect it to have a slight more
yeah,
attack to
that first note
it.
needs a stronger attack, because otherwise it's just like, "Mwah," da-da,
Right.
but we're hearing kind of this like slurry thing.
Yeah.
That might be, yeah. I think it's the attack.
Yeah, like even if it's just like a spicatissimo followed by a stronger accented sustain or something, rather than like a legato patch, right?
And then those basses, it's similar to that other one we heard where the brass felt like they were just like kind of right next to me. Hearing this in stereo, I feel like those basses are kind of like next to me
Right,
instead
right.
of instead of quite like
Sure.
in the room quite as much. So yeah, I
Yeah,
think the strings maybe are all a little more present, because the wind stuff and the drum stuff feels better
yeah,
to me than the
absolutely.
strings. I think the strings are what's kind of
Right.
give the giveaway.
Yeah, I
That's
mean, this brings up an interesting like topic about mic position. So I'd be curious to know if this composer used all the same type of mic position placements, or if they kind of went with a closer thing for the strings or whatever. Because for me personally, I tend to like to use the mixed default mics in a lot of the libraries. They tend to sound
right.
pretty good to me. But sometimes, the close mics, um, they can sound a little like mono in a way as well, and not very nice sometimes. So even adding in a dash of the room reverb or the tree mic, can also widen out a bit and push it back.
Yeah, I agree. I usually want to lean on the mix because you kind of trust that they've
Yeah,
worked on it.
exactly.
You
Yeah,
know, that's what they
yeah.
think is presenting the best sound. So I think the only problem you run into is when you're mixing libraries. So I'm guessing that these strings do not come from the same source
Hmm, hmm.
as the brass. It's
Yeah,
probably a different library. I wonder, maybe next time we do this, I'll add a little part in the submission form. They're like, "What are your libraries
yeah,
that you're using?" That
yeah,
might
for
be a
sure.
good
Yeah,
that might be a
totally.
good thing for us to know. But
Yes.
yeah, my instinct is that the strings are not from the same library because they sound like they're in a different space.
Mm.
So then you're going to unfortunately have to get into the mics. I focus more on that with like a solo instrument. If it's like a solo cello, then I might go like, okay, I want just the close mic, and I'm going to deal with how I do it.
Hmm.
Um, I am not personally, I am not a details guy, unfortunately. I'm just more of I'm like a big picture, and then I'm like, yeah, this sounds great, ship it out,
Right, right,
back
right.
a little bit.
Sure.
I know there's some channels, I think, is it Mike Verta maybe, who's really good at the like, you want this horn to sound real, this is what
Right.
you're gonna do, and I respect that, and that's just not where I'm coming from.
Hmm, hmm.
um but I think mic position is a big part of that. You're right. Somebody's saying the
Absolutely.
strings sound like BBC SO, so
Ooh.
maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
Good ear if you can recognize different string libraries. I do not have that. Let's see. So yeah, I guess we should probably move to the next one.
Yeah,
And,
let's do it.
but yeah, I think similar to the other track, I think there's a good job of just the interesting content. You know, keeping me when I'm like over here, especially if we're fighting a Cyclops, we want this like on our toes and falling.
Right,
So
right.
it fits the metaphor nicely.
Yeah, making use of the full orchestra, you know,
yeah,
all the sections.
All right, random number 14.
Mm-hmm.
Let me mark off that we heard this one. Number 14 is Theme in A, Title in Progress. I like that, from Garrison Keaton. This is a work in progress excerpt from my first composition. I'm using the Spitfire Symphonic Libraries. I'd love feedback on orchestration and realism. Well, that's good because that's what we've been focusing on. Yeah. Oh, I didn't show the spreadsheet here. Sorry. Here you go. Comments here. But yeah, you got the idea. We're focusing on feedback on orchestration and realism. So let's look for theme in A.
He listed his libraries too. Perfect.
Spitfire Symphonic. I'm guessing that that's overall for the whole thing, the Spitfire Symphonic.
Yeah.
I have that library, and I was kind of blown away when I started with it, and then I find sometimes it's it takes some work,
right,
to get all the different, because my biggest problem with it is that the key switches don't line up instrument to instrument necessarily. So some things have different lengths of staccato, and it's not always the same switch for certain things. Whereas like cinematic scoring libraries, the legato and the staccato are always in the same place. So if you want a short note on the tuba and you want a short note on your viola, you're going to get it the same way, which I think is awesome. Yes. That's a frustration I had a bit with Spitfire, unfortunately, but the sounds are good. All right, we're going to listen to 30 seconds of Theme in A.
All right.
I'm going to let it run because we're almost
there.
Oh, but it stops.
Oh, he cut it off himself.
I guess that's fair. I told people that that's what we'd be listening to.
Yeah.
Nice. So I'm definitely hearing, Star Wars in there. I guess it was maybe, which is great. And I'm reminded a little of the Mario Galaxy music.
That's what my mind goes to.
Right? A big adventurous thing.
Oh yeah, of course.
I'll let you go first.
Sure. Yeah. Well, first of all, I just love the overall vibe. It's very pleasant, and I love the fact that you use a lot of different borrowed chords, from different modes. You definitely got the Lydian sound in there. You got I heard a C chord in there within the A major, so you have that flat 3, which is really cool. That's not used overly often. You kind of had an E flat in there too, so flat 5 stuff going on. So it's like a whole bunch of really cool chords. Unless I'm
mode mixture.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, just a really fun experience. I think maybe the woodwind runs could be a tad pulled back in the mix. Just they were a touch too loud for my taste, and maybe a couple of dB, and then give them a dash of more reverb. I love Hollywood winds for this type of purpose, but if you want to play in your own runs, then yeah, just making sure they're not overly loud is really important, because you want those those main lead instruments that come out. And I think the other thing I was thinking was near the end, I wasn't actually expecting it to kind of go down in energy. I was expecting it to maintain. So when you kind of swelled back up at the end with the brass and all that, I was like, did you intend for the actual volume of everything to kind of go down and then rise back up? Because I think you could actually keep the volume maintained throughout, but just let the orchestration do the work of lowering the energy, but just
you felt like it was almost like the mix had been turned
down? I think it felt like maybe there was like a foundational string pad, or like a line that was even going down in volume, but the texture, the timbre kind of sounded similar. So it felt like maybe it was just like an overall volume decrease and then rise, but it could be totally wrong. So just curious.
Right. I guess regarding the woodwinds, I think you have to appreciate how small they are at this volume. When you have your horn, your brass, and your strings just blaring, your winds they can't keep up quite the same way. So it would be maybe you want to hear your run, you're going to mix them forward, but that's not really, you know. Something John Williams might do is add a glockenspiel with those things, with those little fill parts or something that will help it cut through, because on their own, I think what you're saying, they're kind of falling in the background. I've looked at some John Williams scores, and there's these like clarinet or flute arpeggio runs going on, and I see it on the paper, and I'm like, this, I could never have told you this was there. You can't hear it. Trombones and and everything. It's like, the clarinet just cannot compete.
It's more like something you feel, right? Rather than explicitly
something you feel.
hear.
So those runs are almost more felt, I guess, than heard. For me, my very first impression was that I had started late. That I had come in when the track, I had come in maybe 10 seconds or however much before the track had already got going. Like, I think it needs some sort of intro, because the way it kind of throws into this big melody thing. I don't know. I don't know if saying I wasn't quite ready for it or something, but I think it just needs some sort of little fanfare. Dun, 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 ba, da, da, da. I don't know. It could be something simple. But in a way, I guess it's like an establishing shot in like a sitcom. They show the outside of the house. You're like, oh, we're at the main character's house, and then we go into the scene. I feel like I could have used an establishing shot. Just kind of like, the same way that Star Wars has that. When the title comes up, that huge thing, and everybody knows it, and it's a big fanfare. I think the part of that is a fanfare, I guess, is to announce, like, hey, everybody, check it out, this is coming. So when this started,
that's the theme coming in right away, right?
Right away, and it reminds me, especially as a very, I don't know, lyrical, but kind of a more lyrical theme. It almost reminds me, if this is John Williams, this feels like a later theme for him too. That, like, if we're thinking of was it Flight to Neverland, that kind of more soaring string theme comes later, and in the beginning is a little bit more of a motivic thing.
Cool.
I wonder if I could be sharing like YouTube listening to John Williams stuff. That's a different live stream. I probably couldn't do that. But so I feel like I could use some sort of fanfare or some sort of just prepare me for this. And the reason this is different, we listened to the Cyclops and it didn't. It was just like you got punched in the face by a Cyclops. And so again, the metaphor is a bit different there. This is more of like we're going on an adventure. So it's like buckle up. Here we go. I think. Do we have a second? Let's run that through one more time. I feel like this is nitpicky. I don't think we need that that little turn. I think we need a moment that, again, if we're trying to be stylistically true, I think that would be a fill from another part. So in another, let somebody else have like a fill there and let the phrase breathe. Because if you're singing this, you don't get a chance to breathe. You're just like going, like breathe, you don't need that little turn. I do like the chord change to vary it up there.
Yeah, so like this part here, I was like, what? Okay. He went so soft.
It does get quieter. Yeah. It's cool. Yeah, I mean, I definitely hear that that's a very, any main titles in Star Wars will do that and you do that and then the Death Star or whatever, some sort of ship goes overhead. So that I feel like that's what that's probably inspired by.
Right.
Yeah, let's keep rolling. Right. So somebody says Tchaikovsky meets Indiana Jones. I get that.
Ooh.
Let's see. All right, so I just want to remind you guys, there's a link in the chat for the 10 steps to a clear orchestral sound. So if you want to check that out, please look in the chat and we'll put that in the description later. But for now, we're going to go to a random number generator. We'll mark off that we listened to theme in A. Also, theme in A, come on, give it a title.
Yeah.
Give it. Well, here's why. Here's why I give it a title, because when I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go work on theme in A today, what do I do with the brass? Like, that doesn't inspire me, or it doesn't tell me if I'm making the right decisions. Whereas I'm gonna work on, Indiana Jones's next adventure, even if you have to, whatever, just or something, or like exploring. I don't know. I think some sort of metaphor for yourself really helps you, not just the motivation thing, but just more just kind of know, like, what does this need? What does this, where is this going? Because, like you said, you were kind of surprised it went down and it got kind of dark, and it was like, well, what is this? If this is just theme in A, then I guess it doesn't matter where it goes. If this is, I don't know, I guess, because, then you also run the risk of just trying to tell like 15 stories within your piece. And maybe if you had a specific, Indigo shopping or whatever, you have a more specific just focus that this is going to keep us on, and we're not just kind of like switching from dark to, because it sounds cool to do that necessarily.
Exactly.
When that happens in Star Wars, when you listen to that, you maybe get used to, oh, the music is happy and then it gets dark. You have to be careful when you listen to film music, because Darth Vader's on screen now. That's why it's dark. It's not because John Williams was like, it'd be really cool if we went minor now. That wasn't why.
Right.
It was because the audience is experiencing something dark in the main thing that they're looking at, and you're just trying to support that. I think sometimes people forget that film music is supportive, and also that the people get used to these kind of like random twists and turns, which make sense to picture, but sometimes just sound random on their own. Sorry. So did I hit the number? No, I did not. We're going for a new number 7. Switch over to our spreadsheet here to see what we've got for number 7. Demo for review. Oh no. Let's see. So from Aviv Shikar, I guess. Hi, I compose music as a hobby. I'd like to know what you think about this piece. Thanks. All right, simple enough. So, and I think it's awesome how many people just do music as a hobby. I think it's such a stressful hobby in a way.
Sure.
It's just like this endless, you can never be done. You can never be done learning. So that's I really admire that being a hobby.
Self-motivated for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. All right. Sorry. It was demo for review. All right.
That's very pretty. Love it. Yeah.
I love the variety we're getting. It's like all in the same, it's all in the same genre, but very different approaches. Definitely.
Yeah.
Let's see. So the influences, I don't know. I'm not trying to insult people when I mention the influences. I hope that's okay to just say what I'm hearing when I hear this, what it's bringing to mind. I'm reminded this has kind of a bit of a Zimmer style to it. It reminds me a little bit of How I Met Your Dragon too. With the drums, I think, with that dun, 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 that big theme. All right, and this time I won't critique the intro fading in. Obviously, I think you highlighted favorite part of the track. So that's perfectly fine. Let's see. I'm trying to think.
And also, if I have to guess, I'm gonna guess he came from a modulation too. Or came from a different key, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's
you reminded me something I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Something's going on right there. There's a different pitch, and I don't know if he's changing the chord.
We can hear that one more time. I don't think I know this.
Are you hearing anything? I feel like I'm hearing.
Is it? Do you hear something like in the middle or something?
Where I'm hearing it, it's on that. It's right on that chord.
Right on the chord. I mean, I kind of hear like a low, really like low brass, like a that like really brassy quality in the very bottom. It feels like it's still outlining the taunt, the bit, the root, but it
I don't
is.
know. I can't discern quite what I'm hearing. This isn't
Mm,
quite it, but it almost feels like everybody's on this D. What are we?
yeah, yeah,
D major
yeah.
chord, and somebody's playing an F natural or something like that. That's kind of what I'm
Oh,
hearing.
so
Is
it's like
just
dissonance.
I can't quite tell what it is, and at first I thought it was like an intentional thing. Now we're listening to it. I can't quite pull out what I'm hearing.
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't really notice it.
I don't know. Okay, maybe it's just me. I'm noticing it every time. I just can't pick out what
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah. No,
is.
totally
Um,
interesting.
all right, maybe I'm just crazy, and we'll let that run. So, all right, let me go back to.
I mean, for me, it's giving me some like Thomas Ferguson vibes, humanity
Yeah.
vibes.
How do you feel about the mix, like with the strings?
Yeah, like I really like it. I mean, for me, nothing is really popping out as distracting. If anything, my ear wants even more like presence in the melody, like a touch, not necessarily louder, but just slightly like fuller, more full body type of upfront tone in the brass in the
In that
melody,
main featured
in the
sound?
main in the main
Yeah.
theme for me. That's all. Yeah, but
I wonder if just a couple more doublings, adding bassoons and clarinets or something might give it a
yeah, maybe.
power or something. I kind of respect the restraint on those background string parts. I feel like my instinct would
Yeah.
be like, "This part's so cool, I'm gonna bring it out," but he didn't, you know? It's
Yeah,
there, it's felt.
right. Exactly. You don't really notice it. Yeah, like any louder, it would start to poke out. But
I
yeah,
hear what you're saying, but especially on that pickup, that ba-da-da-da, that
mm,
feels like
a little more presence.
it needs more presence. Do you think it's just that why is that? It catches up.
You're right. So these last few notes, like I think the theme is da 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 da, but I'm like not 100% sure. So
On what's the main line
yeah,
versus
the exact
breakdown?
like
Yeah.
main theme he's going for. Yeah.
You know what? I kind of almost take back what I said before. I said I like the restraint on this on the string on the arpeggios, but here I think maybe he's added the violins, but it's not enough.
Mm,
Because I think adding the violins might help bring that melody out, but I think he did, but now he's kind of naturally tucked his strings so far back. So it's like,
ah,
tuck it back for the arpeggio is great, but now bring it forward.
right.
I think the strings are here, but they're not.
Yeah, like I can kind of pick it out. It's definitely more pulled back than before, I think.
Yeah. So that's interesting that the melody. Do you want? I guess I wonder how much of the drums are to blame. Also, do you think that those drums are taking up any of the focus or the?
Uh,
Mm.
it's tough to say because like it also has kind of a hybrid feel to it too. So I'm not sure if he's really going for that maybe more like traditional percussion sound because it has more punch to it, right? So in terms of like frequencies, it's definitely taking up kind of the low like mid range as well. But I'm just thinking about like the horns, right? They're maybe taking up the spot just above that in terms of like EQ and frequency.
Mhm.
So it's possible they are clashing a little bit, but I would be curious even just to see what a couple, dB more, on the volume would sound like for the main melody. That's all
For the
for a
main
couple of the
line.
notes. Yeah, it's just some
Yeah.
automation probably. But
And I also feel like maybe we're being nitpicky. Like I think it sounds good, and
yeah.
I think it's achieving the style,
Hmm.
that it's going for. Um, Yeah, I'd be interested to hear. I understand the drums are an important part. I'd be interested to mute those and see how it feels, and if we still get a lot of the energy, and maybe because I wonder if that's like an Action Strikes loop or something going on under, and maybe what is it like with them, or with them being less just going all the time? Do we get more space? Maybe we don't. Maybe
Yeah,
it
muting is
might
a
be.
good option for sure.
Let's grab. I mean, just to hear it, just so I could know, like,
Yeah.
here. I would want to play with the stems. All right, let's go to our next one. Number one. Lucky number one, you are up. Let's see. So let's head to our spreadsheet. Make sure we marked off. What did we just listen to? Demo for review. And also, again, on the title thing, that would help us. Maybe in the future, if you're submitting for something like this, that would help us understand your intention even more too. It's not just demo, but like, after the wedding, after the victory, after the mail came, who knows? Like, maybe, do I know if it's appropriate or not? It's hard to say.
Give us some character.
But here we go. A star in the sky gives us, something to think about. It can mean a lot of things, but it still gets us something to be by. And says, have fun listening. Which
we will.
Here we go. We're gonna go for 30 seconds of a star in the sky. Oh, we got a problem. Often I find if I refresh the screen, that comes back.
Nice.
Cool.
All right.
Again, I love the variety we're getting.
Yes. Very like. So yeah, this one kind of has that interesting hybrid approach, right? Like that lead, that feels like some sort of synth thing, right? It doesn't really feel like strings or something, but I mean, it could be also layered there too. But I think the one thing that I was hearing was the fact that I kind of had to keep turning up and down my volume. So that might be something to consider. Either do a little bit of compression on the overall track, or just automate it so it's not peaking up super high and going down super low. Because I think it would sound really, really pretty if we were just able to hear everything at one consistent baseline volume.
Yeah, I think that was my main. Definitely my main comment was the volume. It felt like the master volume was getting turned up as it went.
Right.
I think you mentioned this on an earlier track, when it was getting quieter, that it didn't feel like the timbre of the instruments getting quieter. It felt like more of just the mix getting quieter.
Yeah.
And I guess that depends on your samples, but it didn't feel like, to me, like the choir was singing louder, because that's a very different sound. It felt like they were still singing at the same level and just being pushed up.
Right.
And so I really, really liked when we hit that peak and it broke and it came back down. I thought that was really like a satisfying overall big, kind of 30-second gesture of this big build and then kind of come back down. I thought it was really nice. However, it didn't feel natural. The build didn't feel natural. I guess, I think it was, like you said, a volume thing. And so part of it might be, maybe you just don't have the right samples and you need different samples for that effect. But it also might be a little bit of trust that this is going to sound a little weird, but volume doesn't necessarily equal force. Meaning, like, you could have, I guess if you listen to any pop song that's like compressed to nothing, you can still have a whisper and like a shout, and you perceive those as different intentions, even though technically the volume is kind of coming through very similar. So I think if you let your samples play on their lower timbres and then use the mod wheel, use expression, whatever that library gives you to get bigger. Here. at this point, the choir is eating the whole room, and I can't. I know the strings are still there.
Yeah.
I can't hear it. So I think it's mostly the choir.
Mm.
I guess.
Huge swell. It
Huge
really
swell.
is. Yeah.
But I respect the patience for the
Yeah.
time to come back down. You know, there's like
Yeah,
some
exactly.
waiting, and there's a naturalness in the gesture and in the breathing kind of,
Yeah.
which I think is really great. It's that choir is like, especially here, it's like, that violin melody feels a little lonely to me too, in the
Mm,
sense of maybe it could use a little support. I wonder if at that point when it's bigger, if it was in octaves,
right.
something, you know, like an octave below to kind of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
let it
Yeah.
speak, if that might help.
Yeah. Or maybe even just like a woodwind even doubling it, either in unison or an octave below or above. But
Because I guess the idea here is that also on this idea of like volume dynamics does not always just mean volume. So here you obviously wanted your melody in the first 10 seconds and the, you know, the preceding 10 seconds to be different in intensity. I think orchestration wise, you want to do more than just say 3 dB louder. It's like, if you want more force, give it more force, give it the horns,
yeah,
give it the viola, you know, like write the dynamic changes,
right.
if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Even
Yeah.
thinking about it like literally from the perspective of the orchestra. Like if you were sitting in like if you're the conductor, right, and you're conducting the orchestra, you're not gonna I don't know if it's not like you're in the control room, like, and you can just push up the fader. Like you literally have to say, horns, come on, come up a little bit more, or I want to add, these woodwinds more. Just
Right.
they're natural. Their timbres want to change, and everything will just come up naturally. But the overall baseline volume should kind of remain similar
Yeah,
in
like kind of your
general.
experience. So it's like you said, we were kind of riding the volume on
Hmm.
our end a little bit. And I took like an advanced conducting class, and the only thing I remember from it is the teacher telling me maybe conducting is not your thing.
Oh,
I just was
Brian. Oh,
I think I don't know, maybe it's just
that's
like
funny.
my ADD or something that I'm
Yeah,
like paying too much attention on these guys over here. Oh shit, I forgot about
that's
the
hilarious.
trombones, or I don't know. Like it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
I don't know. Are
Love it.
you a conductor?
I've never taken a conducting class. Like, I I wish I could honestly, and it looks really cool when people do it, but
Yeah.
I just haven't done it ever. So
Right. Yeah, I conduct to a click track, you
there
know,
you
like
go. That's all you
everybody
need.
is just like, we got this.
That's
Um,
great.
nice. All
But
right,
yeah,
that's a
very
good one.
cool.
All right. I hope we're getting through enough of these. I feel like we might be more restrained on time than the number of tracks, as far as we were trying to kind of discern that a little bit. But let's see. Random number. You ready for another one?
Let's do it.
Number 3. I can't believe we haven't gotten the same number twice yet.
I thought it was a system in the AI that doesn't let it repeat it twice, but
Right?
that's cool.
All right. Let's see. Number 3. I don't speak French, but Aube Mystique, perhaps
There we go.
Aube Mystique, from Adrian Ravel. Good name to have if you're writing
Yes.
in French. And
French. Yeah.
first work done in any sequencer. So we're gonna be
Cool.
harsh. We're gonna just rip it apart.
That's
No,
right.
we'll see. No, that's an interesting comment. First work done in any sequencer. So, did this one have a score? Unfortunately, no, it did not. Some people like the Nightmare music that we've heard so far submitted a score, and just the way the streaming software works, I can't be showing the score and sharing the sound, and it's just like a whole thing. So unfortunately, thank you for submitting your scores, for those of you who did. It's just that this is such a complex stream, we're not really able to make that happen, but let's check it out.
modulation.
Very
That's
different.
great. Yeah.
Very different. Wow. This is
Very
some chamber
cool.
music.
Yeah.
Right? We'll get something different. At first, I was like, is the sound working? I didn't know.
Yeah, I know. I know. We got it. Well,
It's
that's
French. Sorry, I first said Mystical Dawn.
yeah. No, that's really beautiful. And
Cool.
I guess for me, like it just yeah, it gives me those vibes of maybe just traveling to I don't know Paris or something, just walking, looking at the sun, just like oh, such a nice day. And I think the one thing I'm curious about is the processing on the cello, or even if it's just the natural raw sound of the sample, but there's some kind of like buzziness or some sort of distortion happening on it that it's kind of a little distracting to me. And then the other thing I'm just curious about is the decision behind heading the piano more right and the cello more left. And totally, it could be just be because you want more space for them to sit apart. But I don't know. I think if it was me and I was doing this type of mix, I might probably just have the piano kind of up the front in the center first, and then when the cello comes in, I can just tuck it behind and then let the cello come up front a little bit more to show that okay, maybe if it was a live stage, then you have the piano playing there, but then the cello's kind of sitting slightly in front or maybe just off to the side so that they're collaborating together rather than literally the cello being over here and then the piano being over here type of thing.
It's too artificially wide.
Yeah, a little bit to me.
Yeah. I mean, something you said, it reminds me of another track we heard earlier. You said like start with the piano and tuck it back. And I think that would really help because there's a lot going on. Like the
Mhm.
texture in the piano is very busy. And so I could use that same establishing shot of kind of put me in this space, let me know this is the vibe we're going for. And then
Mhm.
when the cello comes in, it's like the star has entered and now
Yeah,
has
very
his
exactly.
solo. Instead of when everybody starts at once, I'm like not necessarily sure that the cello is the star. Like eventually kind of caught up to that idea that like,
Yeah,
okay, I'm supposed to be focusing on this. But I don't, if everything starts at once, then it's just like two people started talking to me at the same time. Which one am I going to listen to?
right.
If that piano can start, and then like you said, you could even tuck it back in the mix a little bit. The piano starts and sets the stage. Then I have a moment to be like, oh, okay, oh, here's this new guy, the cello.
Mhm.
Um, it's the same way the reason a fugue works so well is the staggered entrances. It doesn't just start all at once, like all four voices. It's like the main theme, and then when we
Yeah,
hear it come in on the second one, we're like, we can process it because we're like, oh, okay, now my focus is on this one, and the other line is a texture. Okay, now I'm focused on this one.
right.
So yeah, so similar to another one where we were lacking an introduction. I think there can be power in start. I mean, you could use your cello in that power. You could do a big gesture dun, dun, into it, or I don't know.
Mm.
But I mean, did it have? Let me hear that again, actually, because I was thrown off a little by the silence.
Yeah.
I wish I had at least two more bars of that. Just for
Mm.
the cello to then come in.
Right, 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 right.
And then I think speaking kind of to the sample, this feels a little harsh. I wasn't 100% sure if it was a cello
Mm.
at certain points. I was like, I think that's the cello sound, right? And I think it's probably, I don't know if it's the programming or just the actual instrument, the library. Like is it that it needs more nuance, or is it just that that's not the best cello
Yeah,
necessarily? I don't know.
yeah.
I think part of the problem with the mix, and probably the reason the solution was to spread them out, is because both parts are so busy
Mhm, mhm.
that there's so much activity in that piano part, and there's so much activity going on in that cello part that
Yeah,
um yeah, in a way it does get harder that they're separated, actually, because then I'm
right.
kind of pulling both sides. But I can see how that might have been to try to solve that
Exactly.
they're
Yeah,
on top of each other so much.
yeah.
um I wonder if when the cello is speaking, if that piano part could simmer down just so slightly, and then in the breaths climb bigger. I don't know if that would mess up the whole texture or not, but
Mm, mm.
um
Yeah.
if that makes sense. I don't know.
It's interesting. Yeah, I feel like because the chords in the piano feel like they're, kind of, above the octave above middle C or so, but maybe even just taking away one or two of the notes and all of those repeated chords might help it loosen up just the texture a little bit. It feels like most of the chords are, either closed inversions or even root position with a, like it's a slash chord maybe. But and the cello sample itself, it feels like there's almost a cloudy reverb around it at the same
Mm.
time, right? And so that's taking up a lot of the overall frequency space. So maybe that's you found that was fighting with the piano, and then that maybe that was the decision to pen it the way you did. But yeah, maybe just revisit the cello itself and see if you could either find a sample that's a little more just clear and a little drier, maybe or just process it less if you apply processing to it.
Mm-hmm. I really like that piano texture though.
Yeah, it's pretty.
The vibe it's creating, I think, is really
Yeah,
nice.
it is.
Yeah, like this is a very different thing, but I'm just thinking of there was a track I was watching the score reduction of from Solo, and this, John Williams has just these such busy accompaniment parts, these like running lines.
Yeah.
And whenever the melody was going, those running lines were just in kind of like a middle C octave above register. And then anytime there was a breath, then it would be the higher octave as well.
Right.
But
right.
it wasn't the whole time. It was like still the gesture, the movement was still there, but it wasn't like, it was just like here. And then when there was a second, even just for 2 beats, then it would be up higher so you could hear it, and then it would come back down. So you can carve around the line.
Cool.
I think for sure that's a cool track. All right.
Awesome.
Shall we?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Random. I know I said we didn't get a repeat. Now we're going to get a repeat. Number 14.
We got a repeat.
Did we do 14 already?
I think we did. Yeah.
We did. Yeah. Okay. So let's try again. Number 6. We get number 6. We did number 6. That was demo.
Oh, we did. Okay. Right.
4. 4 is new. All right.
Woo!
Number 4 is Big Diamond from Jake. The first piece of music I ever wrote. Whoa. What is it? The melody and some of the embellishments are improvised. So I wonder, why do you think wrote is in quotation marks? I think
that's funny.
Just this idea, I guess they're more of a
or maybe he's maybe he's not feeling confident about being a composer. Right. I don't know. But
I apologize. I want to move into this one. I want to just say there's a comment from Gavin that said the solo cello sound might be from the Tina Guo artist series. I don't know that library. Do you?
I don't know the artist series itself.
Yeah.
I would hesitate to say it's the actual legato cello itself, because we all know that sound pretty well. But it's very possible that like it might be from that series. But
or maybe it's using a legato sound in a part that's not really a legato part. It's such a busy part that it wasn't able to speak. All right.
Right. I don't know. Interesting.
Man, I don't know how you guys. I don't have an ear for sample libraries like that. I just don't. You're like,
some are super recognizable.
Yeah. I don't spend enough time in them. All right, so we're gonna check out Big Diamond.
All right.
Let's see. We got the right page here. Run just a little bit longer.
Sure.
All right, and this is so different that everything else. Do you mind if I just kind of like skip ahead to
Please,
find out? I want to know where are we going? Not what I was expecting.
Okay.
At all. All right, I want to hear that transition.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I'm kind of glad I did that.
I
closed it, but I was like, where are we going with this? This is not where I thought we were going at all. And then do we keep that vibe? Then it seems to get quiet. Okay, so it's kind of 2 halves. There's kind of that ambient intro, and then the more groove-based thing. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well,
Or you
I
want
was
me to-
gonna say, like, if it was just based on the, the first section there, I mean, I think you
Let's
said,
focus on the first section. Yeah.
yeah. I think you really established like what you set out to establish. I mean, you probably wanted a more soundscapey type of thing where it feels kind of ambiguous, like up in the air, like you're not really sure where things are gonna go. And some of those chord changes were very unpredictable. I think you basically went from like, B minor to F major or something. So big tritone thing there. But just in general, a very like I like the balance. I think, everything sounded relatively uh cohesive and together, and yeah, like nothing really stood out to me as being, I guess, out of the ordinary or super unbalanced or anything. So
Mhm. Yeah, the title is Big Diamond, so it's hard to know exactly what the intention is.
right, sure.
Um, it's hard to know because I don't know if you saw both of us kind of jump when we skipped ahead to like a minute in and see where was this going, and it was just not at all what we were expecting. And it's hard to know if that was the purpose or if you were trying to establish. I I don't know. I wonder if there's a bit of too much of a difference in style. Um, but I guess it depends on where this is going. If this is going on your personal album, then I guess do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I guess if you're sending this to a music library, they're not going to be able to use this
Mm,
really because it just doesn't fit. They're going to have different set of tags for the first minute than for the next two, and it won't. Anyone who searches for those tags like electric piano and listens to the first 5 seconds is be like, this isn't just not what I was looking for.
right.
So it's hard to say. So I guess from an artistic perspective, like I said, do whatever you want. But from a commercial perspective, which unfortunately I have, like I don't know. And the solution to that might be, can you introduce some of these sounds a little earlier? I hear the pad a little bit there, I guess.
Right.
We got this like Rhodes thing, and we got that electric bass. Maybe that bass could be a little more present, or
Mm,
we have a chord. If you just like rolled a chord with that electric piano,
right. I think it's
that
also the
might
fact that he has these birds chirping and all that. So it kind of feels like it's some sort of like nature doc. And then
definitely
when the piano stuff comes in, it's like, wait, now we're in a studio? Oh, okay. Yeah.
right. Yeah, we get kind of like thrown. So I think to me that would be my solution. Would be like to just a gentle rolled
Yeah,
chord
yeah.
into use the same chord that you have going on here, and let that come in. I had one other. I don't know exactly the timestamp, so I'm gonna let it run. Right there. What is that?
C sharp?
Like a C sharp comes in.
Mhm.
Sorry, I have to use my keyboard.
No, no.
the there's this really amazing concept from Alan Belkin. Do you know Alan?
Yeah, yeah,
Probably
yeah.
you've seen his stuff of bumps and holes, where he talks about where if something kind of hits you that isn't quite what you're expecting in the context, or is too soon or too big or whatever, it's a bump. And then if there's like an emptiness and a lack, that's a hole.
Mm,
And I got a slight, but that C sharp gave me a bump that it's hard. It's a hard nuance, but it was more dissonant than I'd been led to believe we were going to be, if that makes sense.
right.
Or I guess I needed, I don't know how to put this because it feels weird to say, but I feel like we're so, like you said, it's like a nature thing in the beginning. It's so happy
Mhm,
and
mhm.
peaceful. And then I got that C sharp and I was kind of, it wasn't so much like, ooh, there's some darkness as much it was like, it bumped me.
Right,
you
right.
know and so to prevent it from bumping me, I don't know if we need to build up towards dissonance or if that C sharp needs to kind of fade in more or something. But
Mm, mm.
just that's the reality that bumped me, that just kind of like pulled out my focus. I was like, yeah, there's a C sharp
Mhm,
there.
mhm.
And it's a fine line. I mean, maybe maybe that's just fine that there's just kind of distance, but I've been set up into peaceful zen mode. And then so if you want that darkness, great, don't bump me with it, like let it seep in, and then
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
ooh, there's some darkness here too.
Right.
Um, maybe, I don't know.
No, that
I'm
definitely,
making
yeah.
this up.
Yeah, no. No. That yeah, no, that's great. And but at the same time, like when I heard the C sharp, I was kind of getting the sense like, oh, maybe maybe there's a predator approaching, or maybe the skies are getting dark or something. So maybe he really did intend that to make us uneasy with it, at the same time. Who knows? It's tough to really say, but
Alex in the comments mentioned Riders on the Storm, which I think, if I remember, I have to hear just the first. Yeah, it has this like rain sound. Well, so the difference with Riders on the Storm from the Doors, it has that kind of rain ambience, but then the band kind of fades in. It wasn't kind of setting up a whole atmosphere. This, with the pads and everything, kind of set up a whole vibe. The Riders on the Storm kind of goes like right into the actual timbres that we're expecting to come up. And yeah, so Gavin was asking, maybe they could submit the first half and second half separately. Yeah, these are two different. If I don't think this is for a library, but if it were, or if you wanted to repurpose it, I would 100% split this into two different queues, and make one is for libraries, or sorry, one is an ambient and has its whole set of metadata, cool. And there's another one. Do you do any library music?
I don't. Well, I have a couple tracks submitted to one, but I haven't really written specifically for a library yet. So
that's my bread and butter.
It's really good to know. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. All right. Let's see. Are we ready to keep going?
Yes.
All right.
Definitely.
How are we doing? How many have we gotten through here? Quite a few, right? All right. We're going to grab our random number generator. We'll see what we get. Number 11. We have not done number 11 yet.
Okay. Awesome.
So we're looking at Mood Swing from Bjarkatan. And there's no comments, so we're on our own to decide what Mood Swing means.
That's right.
My instinct, just from title alone,
yeah.
In the Mood, right? The Glenn Miller, is it?
Oh, okay. Yeah,
that's In the Mood. It's swing, and it's in the mood. That's what I think when I see Mood Swing. But I know mood swing can mean a very different thing.
But we'll see. We'll have to find out.
The first impressions people are getting.
There we go.
I'm assuming it's not that, but. For a natural point to break.
Yeah.
It's great there.
There we go.
It's great. I was just thinking, because like I wanted like a nice moment.
Okay.
That's the first. Climax. That's the first part. That's where we're gonna stop.
Right. Yeah.
Cool.
Wow.
Very cool. Very
Amazing.
Interesting.
Yes.
That's our first solo piano piece, I think.
Yeah.
Nice. What do you think of the piano sound? Why don't we start there?
Yeah, well, first of all, I have to say that is like that type of composition that like I would just like never think of. Like that's so unique, and it has so many twists and turns that just it's one of those pieces where I'm just like, how did you think of that? I'm like, it's sometimes it makes you feel like that, and in the best way, of course. So like, congrats on that creativity and making the most of what with what you have. I actually really like the ambience of the piano itself. The only thing that I would be curious about is whether you could play around again with more of the velocity, especially because it feels like it's supposed to be more of the fortissimo type of thing for some of those octaves and the dun 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 dun, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe activating more of those high velocities if they're even available in the library, or even just turning down some of the quieter ones. Because the intention is definitely there. I'm just thinking that, especially when it gets higher in register and the notes are more repeated, then it could start to blend together in terms of the sample sound. That's all. But
that you think there's a composed range of dynamics, but maybe the performance is not
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I guess. Yeah.
Just more.
I mean, that's a hard thing to think about, the fact that your sample is giving you a performance. Right. Sometimes it can be so easy to just be like output. Maybe you wrote this in notation software and you output it to like your good sound and just let it happen. But you really have to play with these just subtle little things. I mean, ideally hand the sheet music to a real piano player.
Right.
If this is like a solo piano piece, then that's manageable. It's not the same as hiring an orchestra. You know, like this is something you could actually get somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know, on Fiverr, maybe. I don't know. But like, there's probably a reasonable thing. So I want to speak to that comment of me looking for a nice point to kind of break. So we had like a first part to listen to. And I'm going to repeat a comment that a composing teacher gave to me long ago that I thought was ridiculous at the time, that he said, you don't have any cadences. And I was like, you're crazy. How could I not have, like, how can you possibly write music without cadences? That's ridiculous. But I feel I you know, it took me 20 years to understand what that meant. And I'm starting to, maybe sometimes. And I feel like I didn't get quite ever a second to breathe, as far as understanding where I was and kind of the geography, the context of the piece, and being like, kind of like, okay, this is a good spot for me to pause, because it just is kind of like kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. If that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah, no, certainly. It definitely feels like your anticipation just keeps on building. It's like, where's it gonna climax here? Like, what's the
right.
Yeah.
We end up, oh, interesting. I jumped 3.5 in and we're in a similar place. So yeah, so it's definitely like a form, kind of like a build,
right?
And a build, which is nice. I do want to say I really like the intro, that thing we've talked about a couple of times, giving us a second to kind of establish ourselves of like, okay, it's this, like, I'm getting that this is piano and it's very nervous. Anticipation is maybe a good word for the whole thing. Mood swing, right? That we've got this kind of, I think that tremolo is really not, or trill, whatever's going on down there. I think you could do a little more to mark. It feels to me like the melody starts. Let's find it. At 6. Dun, 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 dun. I would do something to mark that transition. So either highlight the build into it or highlight the moment. So maybe just at least just hit a chord. That's kind of like a nice punctuation. Or into chords or into octaves,
right?
Just so we get some sort of textural change. Because I think I'm feeling kind of motivically that's some start of a melodic theme, but I think I need the texture to help more clearly define this is the intro run into it, because it's in the same, your run into it is in the same register,
right?
And so it just kind of keeps going, you know, either some sort of octave build or a chord, or probably both. And that might help maybe going forward too. There's a nice break there. So that's what I mean, that kind of breathlessness that here, I'm like, it's like building and building and building. It doesn't release.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
And then it's like, there's a difference between kind of building up excitement and then at some point, I don't want to say I lose interest, because that's not what I mean, but in a way, kind of like, oh yeah, okay, cool, we're building somewhere. And when you realize we're not, then you're like, oh, you know, in a way,
right.
You're no longer, it's not that you can't build anticipation forever.
Right. Or at least it like pulls you along even further. So your suspension is just like, you're just held, your anticipation is just held that even like that much longer. And
it is right. Yeah.
So
I don't know. I think some sort of release would be good. A little sooner. Cause I got to a point where I was like, this might just keep going forever. And so I'm no longer,
right.
I'm no longer excited to expect something, I guess, because, you know, music is so much about setting up expectations and either delivering on them or deceiving them. And this is setting up this expectation. I'm like, oh, you know, we're going somewhere. And then at some point I start to not expect some
right.
You know, that I'm like, okay, we're just gonna run with this, right? Which it's exciting. It's cool. It's a
Yeah.
balance. It's a tricky balance. All right. I enjoy that. And again,
Yes.
I
Same
love
here.
the variety. What are we looking for? My random number generator.
Yes.
Number 10. Did we do number 10? We already did. That was the Cyclops.
Okay. Okay.
Number 5. Call from Mars. Music
Okay.
from Earth to Earth from Matteo Bossi, I think. All right, let's head to the spreadsheet. This is an interesting one. This music will be sent to the planet Mars by the European ESA mission ExoMars in 2022-23. I need votes to be broadcasted back out of other 10 music tracks as part of a scientific experiment to calibrate the instrument. Please help me to become a part of history. I want a contest held by a Czech institution. My track combines different musical instruments I collected from many different countries to ideally represent everyone on Earth for this project. I used instruments from Australia, India, Peru, Russia, Mexico, China, Italy, Slovakia, African drum, acoustic guitar. So I'm going to share this in the chat, just the link to the, I guess this is for the competition, probably.
Amazing.
And then there's a video recording, so I'll throw that in there. He gave me the link, so you can check that out if you want to later. Are we ready to check out music from Earth
Yes.
to Earth? Call from Mars, music from Earth to Earth. Mateo. Nice. Well, you don't know what to expect, do you?
I know.
Here we go. Oh, wow. I wonder if that's the requirement that it has to be 30 seconds or something.
Yeah, no, that's right on. Look at
I would
that.
be interested to know more about that.
Amazing.
That's wow, cool.
Very cool.
Variety. Sounds good.
Yeah.
I think the production value sounds really good to me.
Definitely.
As far as just I feel, this is not orchestral, so it's okay for the instruments to feel closer. I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Know that I'm okay with it being like right here in my ear.
Yes.
How do you feel about the blend of international colors?
Yeah, in a very interesting way, it works. Like at first, I was a little bit jarred, but I kind of got accustomed to it really quickly,
Mm-hmm.
And I think the only thing I'm curious about is, do you think that the melody is as like present, or do you are you distracted at all by any of the elements in the accompaniment?
Yes.
Like,
yeah, definitely. Yeah. I had two thoughts, and one of them was I think after the break that there's a melodic line in my left ear. Let's see where.
right, exactly, yeah.
Where's the break? Oh, I don't know. Now my opinion of what the melody is has changed.
I think it's the thing on the left, da, 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 like that, that thing.
That?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So the fact that we're not quite sure speaks to the problem.
Right.
All the sounds are really great, but it's just like, is that
It's a lot. It's a lot to process.
Yeah. So that those sounds, when they're in a texture, all those sounds being upfront and present and tangible is nice. But yeah, they're not making enough room if you have a star. To me, I guess for me, I was like at around 20 seconds, I was kind of like, oh, I think there's a melody instead of just this is a texture. This is a space we're living in. And you have to make a call, I guess. If this is more of just a texture, then maybe that other part is a little too melodic. Maybe it's fighting to be like, let me be heard, and it's like,
right.
You're trying to stand out too much. Everybody needs to chill and just kind of like be a little more motivic, and not singing so much, or make way, let them have their moment. If they're the melody,
Right.
we need to know it.
Yeah,
Which,
yeah. Or like even if you're like super dead set on having all those textures in there, even I would probably put that melody up the center, to be honest, and even just turn it up a couple of dB, or even consider, I don't know, layering it with something else in the similar in unison, but yeah, just because I actually like the stereo spread of all your different elements, because it definitely gives us a sense of a wide space, but it at the same time you don't want to lose the melody by putting that to one side either. So kind of deciding the intention behind that, I guess.
yeah, I think it might be the doubling would really help. Even just
Right.
using another, let one of your one of your timbres stop whatever supportive role it's doing, and or
Mm,
color role it's doing, and go along. I think the air was the main line, and then maybe the flute needs to be doing the exact same line, or
yeah,
or the
yeah, yeah.
acoustic guitar. I don't know. I don't. It's hard to say what you'll lose by taking this thing away.
Hmm.
I think production. I think it sounds really good. It's just like there's this thing I talk about a lot, that people often end up with kind of gray when they mean to have like black or white on either side, and or not they mean to, but they end up with gray because they're not committing to a side. So you're not committing to this melody. You're
Right.
ending up with, I think there's a melody, and
Yes.
again, it's that either way, well, it's commit. It's the same way as like when you start a piece at mezzo forte, it's like you're not committing to anything there.
Right. 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 Right.
Like that's not what is that? Just,
Sure.
are we loud or are we quiet? Like what are we going with here?
Yes.
And I think it's a similar, like, let's commit to that melody, because I think it's great. I think it's there. I think the concept,
Yeah.
for the little I know about this, where this is going,
Right.
but the concept of this tapestry of the Earth's music is great, and I think it sounds
Yes.
really good. I think it's musical and everything there. I guess we're being so nitpicky. What do we know? But
Right.
if we were to nitpick, to me, I think we're saying bring out the melody.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Exactly. A little
Oh,
bit.
and sorry,
More. Yeah.
my one other thing is the break. I feel like I hear an audible, like all the sound stops. Like I could actually hear a bit of a hiccup in that pause. Right before it comes
Hmm.
back in, there's like a little click, and it feels like I'm hearing the audio edit. That
Mm.
probably, like, maybe those were recorded in two takes, and it's so just maybe check and smooth that over.
Nice.
Maybe if you can let something that's ringing out continue to ring out over that tiny little gap,
Hmm.
um, would be good. Cool piece. So interesting.
Awesome. Yeah.
Um, all right, we ready? What am I looking for? Random numbers.
Yes.
Random numbers. How many do we got? We don't have a lot. We're doing pretty well. I don't think we're gonna, unfortunately, have time to get through everything, but we're getting through most of them.
Awesome.
Number 4. Did we do number
I
4? We
think we
did.
did.
So
Yeah.
number 4. Number 13. We did not do Lucky 13.
Okay.
We have Rolling from Frano.
Rolling.
Composition was published as a piano pop arrangement. The orchestral version was not published. I'm looking forward to your comment critique.
Cool.
So I'm going to assume we're hearing the orchestral version, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. Grab over here. Sorry, I forget to check up on the chat and make sure. Say nothing, it had sitar. Yeah. Right. That was a cool track. It was good. It was good. What am I looking for? Rolling. Orchestra. Okay, yeah. So we're getting the orchestral version.
Beautiful.
So it's interesting to know that this started with a piano version.
Hmm.
I'll go to the end of the phrase.
Sure.
Cool.
Okay.
Nice.
Very neat.
So my first question is this the orchestral version or is this the strings version? Is there anything else there besides strings?
Mm. I think I might have heard the Well, I heard some trills, but I forgot if they were woodwind or.
Oh, there's a drum.
Strings, but okay, there's cymbals as well. Maybe we can see like just really quickly further in the piece if there's any other
Sure, like,
instruments.
yeah, good call. There they come.
Okay.
They're on. So we spent so much time, like we listened to 40 seconds where we didn't get any of these other colors. You have these colors available to you. Use them for accents. Use them for those trills or runs. Like if you want this big thing in the beginning, you have all these resources to make a big swell. You know, more than just that drum, you could have, you know, horns doing a trill or something.
Yes.
And when you have these section breaks, you could even just having the trombones go bump on a chord.
Right.
Similar to what we said before about that, you know, helping mark your sections. You know, these are simple little things you could do, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Why don't we have a let's have maybe just like one more quick listen to the first few seconds. Just curious. Yeah, so it's super interesting. Like I've never heard a theme that kind of goes like da, 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 like that flat 2 on the second note. You know what I'm saying? That was super interesting. That has a certain sense of dissonance, and I couldn't pick out what it was at first. So I thought maybe that like the harmony had some weird note in it, but now I realized like especially when you went higher, it became a little clear. You kind of went with that pattern. I'm just curious the decision making behind that, like what, because everything else sounds very nice and uplifting and kind of bright and fun, right? But then that one dissonant note, that flat 2 of every single chord that you're doing, it's a different rub, you know. So
can I listen to that for a second?
Please.
Yeah. Is there like an E flat there?
Yeah, exactly. Da, 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 da. So it goes.
So to me, and speaking that, when the second time through, I think it was, we get maybe third time through that F sharp. I was like, oh, we're major.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
a little bit. Yeah. When it happened
Sure,
at 17, I was like, I was surprised by that. There's that bump, that F sharp. I was like, oh, I thought we were. You know, I thought we were in a minor.
Right. You know, it's funny. I felt it was like major from the beginning. So then, keeping that major sound in mind, then I was like kind of thrown off by the flat 2, and I was like,
right. I think it's the flat 2 made me assume, okay, we must be in some. Kind of
exactly.
But also goes down to a C, I think, right? Like it's like a. Yeah. To the B flat. That was why I was hearing.
That's fair. Yeah.
That
sure.
Going down that way.
Parallel.
So when the F sharp was much more prominent, I was like,
right.
And you're right. I think it's because of the E flat and the F sharp, just that augmented second, they're not friends.
Sure.
In this style, in this context. I mean, I'm sure
if
this was the nightmare music, you could pull that off. But the mood here is like,
it's jolly, cheerful. It's kind of fun.
Oh yeah, rolling, right? So yeah. I think it's that gray area. Or commit.
Yes.
Are we minor? Are we E flat? Or it's not commit, but I guess it's commit in the moment at least. But when you're doing kind of like a major flat 9, a major flat 9 as your main chord, that's a little bit
right.
Deceives the metaphor that I feel like we're feeling in every other context. That
sure,
you know, because that's I guess what's happening, right? We're getting this D flat 9 and probably maybe D7, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. And I think also there's a bit of a Lydian sound there too, because like I think there's a G sharp.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Just before the very last A there.
So we must be a major 7, a D major 7 flat 9.
Yeah.
Sharp. Right. Yeah, right, exactly.
So I honestly, I think just the simple act of just removing the flat 2s and making them natural 2s would be.
That's not nice. Yeah, that would be really.
You know,
it's not really nice. Yes.
And there's nothing conflicting with the Lydian sound there. Then we know for sure it's like a major type of sound.
And then it's okay also to move down to that C.
Right. Right.
would totally
Yes.
feel, because as the chords are moving, I'm feeling like we're kind of getting some notes are ringing out that are no longer part of the mode we're in anymore.
Yes.
So
Yes.
like that G sharp is hanging out still, even though we've moved to a C major chord or something, you know.
Mhm.
So it's just like we kind of, every time the chord changes, we get a little bit of a lingering
Right. Right.
unintentional dissonance passing on.
Yes.
The strings, can we talk about the string sound?
Yeah. Good segue.
Anybody know what library that is? Some people, somebody knows, maybe.
I definitely do not know this library. No idea.
I guess I don't know exactly what to say about the strings. I want to, sorry, just because I'm thinking of it, I want to actually say to the looping quality of it that,
Mm.
you know, when I pause when it was on its at least fourth time through.
Mhm.
And so I was ready. That's the hole when we talked about bumps and holes. In this case, it's a hole of like, okay, I'm ready for something, something more than just an octave higher or something, but like, you know,
Right.
for the music to kind of take me. So I think you're always safe to repeat something once. Always, just always, you know, you can, the whole exposition of a sonata, play it again.
Right.
Sometimes you can get away with repeating a second time. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, like you get three, and then we need to move on to a B section or
Right.
two,
Right.
you know.
Totally.
Usually you get two, right? I think, you know, or you're just like,
More or
okay,
less.
one,
Yeah.
three, and then it's like, okay, let's go.
Right.
Just because of time, I want to move on. I think there's some interesting stuff in there, but I think
Mhm.
we talked about it a bunch. So
Absolutely.
let's see, maybe we'll do two more.
Sure. Sounds good.
Feel
Yeah.
good. All
Totally.
right, let's jump to our random number thing. Did we do 10 yet? We did. Did we do 12 yet? We did. Did we do? This is a very efficient system, everybody. Number 2. All right, we've not done number 2.
Okay. Excellent.
So Akigami.
Gavin's here with us in the chat.
Kevin Lieber. Yes. Akigami is, what does that mean? Like fall? I feel like the part of that is like fall paper, like origami, but
Ooh.
Aki is
Oh
fall.
yeah. Yeah.
I wonder what
Yeah.
that word means, if it's a word. Maybe it's a hot spring somewhere. I don't know. Maybe you can tell us in the chat, what does Akigami mean?
Yes.
Yeah, somebody pointed out, Gavin pointed out similar chords to Link's House in the Zelda games from that other one we're listening to.
Oh, cool.
All right. Are we on our spreadsheet? Yes. I have a piano sketch with another section. Figured I'd just submit this since you're focusing on openings. Very well. Happy to get the word out about this on my channel. Thank you very much. So yes, we're focused on openings. So I appreciate that you made sure that that was what you were focusing on too.
Awesome.
Can you imagine how long this would have been if we had gone through the entire piece of all of these?
Oh yeah.
It would have been epic. I mean, maybe next time we could do conclusions. Although that's hard without knowing the whole context. That's hard, but
that's true. That's true.
But there's something
or
there.
like just in sections.
Right. Fall spirit. Oh, kami god. Right. Fall spirit. That makes more sense than like, yeah,
that's cool.
Akigami, fall spirit. Kami, like kamikaze. Let's see. Okay, Akigami. Sorry to stop it, but there was a natural point there. There's a natural point.
Why?
I know. Because we're trying to respect the rules here. Nice. Well, all right. Really so you have a Western name, but a Japanese thing. I think we know where the influence is coming from. Probably.
Yeah,
a little bit. But Fall Spirit is such a great title for that.
That is.
That's a really good title. It's really nice. Really nice. Just to know, I want to skip ahead and just kind of hear. Okay. All right, so it sounds like we do bring in more instruments later. I was just curious to know.
For sure.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I'll share a couple thoughts. So, like, first of all, the I wouldn't change anything about the piano sound. I think it really just captures the vibe you're going for, something light and, reminiscent of the fall weather and all that. It's really pretty, and gotta say my favorite. Well, okay, at the very beginning when it kind of like went, da, 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 I thought you were going to do some lullaby thing, da, 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 but that was really cute. And then but later you did this F minor 7 to the G7 or G before going back to the C. So you had the minor 4 in there, which was a really, really beautiful touch. I thought you might have been modulating to E flat because of that, but you didn't. So,
do you think it should have?
Um, it's
Can
hard to
we
say.
maybe
Like,
listen
yeah, yeah,
again,
yeah,
guys?
yeah. Please, and
I hear it. The
right,
lullaby thing.
you know. See, I love that. See that right there is so beautiful.
What do you think? I find this interesting, and I don't mean with no opinion on either way. What do you think about the way he brings in that left hand part kind of mid phrase?
Mm.
Like, to me, this feels like breath. Then we're starting a new phrase.
Right.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it at all. I think it just adds a really nice depth of color. This right there, that's the F minor 7.
That's the Joey Saishi chord right there. That feels to me like such a,
Fair enough, yeah.
which is great. I mean, I love it. It's not a
Yes.
negative at all. This feels really good. You know what else I think is really good is, some of the other ones we commented, there's been some good moments of patience, and I think this has that. But that break right there before the next section is a chance. I think some of these we've heard people are kind of rushing to get to their next thing, and then so at the end of this phrase, let me find it again. Sorry. Hold on. The cadence is what I'm talking about. That we get to a cadence here,
Right.
and you live in it for a moment.
Yeah.
Which lets me be like, okay, cool, and now we flow into our next thing.
Right.
That's what I mean when my teacher was like, you don't have any cadences. That's what he meant. I think, was that I wasn't taking these moments to just kind of like finish my thought.
Yeah.
I guess the same way if you're writing words, you want to end a paragraph with something that makes sense instead of just writing a single long paragraph that runs on forever.
Right.
And I feel like some of these felt a little more of like a run-on sentence, and this is like there's an actual punctuation mark.
Sure.
So it's really nice.
Just noticed that Gavin also said he modulates later to E flat, so that's great.
Right.
Really embrace that change there. Beautiful.
Right. Yeah, nailed it. Yeah, you can hear these things. It's great. Yeah. It's interesting. Somebody's talking about development. Alex was saying it's a lot of development later. Oh, I think, did you say this is only the first part of the track? Because there's so much in those first 30 seconds. This feels like it has to be at least 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes. We need more. Or this is the first theme in a film, and we're going to hear it develop as it goes. Because it seems like there's a lot there. I really like it. I don't really have much.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's really pretty.
Sound is good too. Reverb and all the whole good piano sound. If you can.
Yeah, curious. What library is this, Gavin? Please let us know.
We're on like a 10-second delay, so he'll answer us in 10 seconds.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if he said like noir or something. Like just a really smoky.
Oh, you're taking a guess. All right.
I am. Yeah. Because I just recently got it, so I'm super curious. But
Is it coming? I don't know. We're waiting. While we're waiting for a second, if Gavin will tell us what his library is, I want to remind you guys, I'm going to put in the chat the link to the 10 steps to a clear orchestral sound, which Chris is sharing with us.
Thanks.
So please do check that out. This is just the A section. I told you we're on a delay. This is just Keyscape.
Damn it. Okay. All right.
Do you have that one?
I don't have Keyscape. That's on the bucket list eventually. Yeah.
I'm going to make a note. That sounds really nice. That's very good. I don't know. What do you use? What's your go-to piano? My
go-to is a Cine piano. It's been for, 3 years at this point. Cine Samples piano library, and I don't use much else. Like they recently updated their piano in blue, which is pretty, and I just got noir. I might use that a little bit more, but I like Cine piano. Very bright and neutral sound as well.
Yeah. I use the Cine piano, I guess, and I've used that. I've used the cinematic studio piano,
right,
which is not like the greatest by itself, but I think blends well with their strings, which I think is the intention.
Yes, yes.
And then the other one I've always really liked is the Sound Iron Emotional Piano,
Mm,
which
very
is for
curious.
my taste just it's very mellow,
Yes.
and I personally like something that just kind of hangs back a little bit. Maybe it's because of like the TV music and stuff that it needs to be
Right, right.
background, and so I don't want it just being so bright that we're hearing every little clink.
Yeah.
So I've always really liked the emotional piano
Yes,
as
very
far as
pretty.
just getting like a further back sound. But I guess if I was using it as like a main piano sound, I might not necessarily.
Mm.
But as a blending sound, I really like it. All right, let's see. I think we're gonna do one more. So thank you everybody who's been joining us, and thank you for participating in the chat. We're gonna do one more, and we'll see what happens. It's been interesting. It's just there's a roulette wheel, right?
Yes.
Of like what's gonna come up.
Exactly.
And let's see. So grab our random number generator. Let's see. We're probably gonna get some repeats here, but number 8 is nope. We have not done number 8. So
All
number 8.
right.
So my apologies to those of you who submitted and we were not able to get to your tracks, which is only a few, but we got most of the way. But life gets in the way. We have to move on, unfortunately. So thank you for that, and perhaps we'll do another one of these, and you can submit then, and we'll listen to the endings. Who knows? Maybe, maybe not. Or maybe we could be more specific about what we're listening to. Like send only your string tracks or only your, I don't know.
Right,
Or
right,
maybe
right.
just or whatever. We have been, just to let you guys know, we have been talking about maybe doing another one of these on Chris's channel. So keep an eye out for that. If you don't know where his channel is, search his name. I'm sure you'll find it. And maybe if you have maybe you could drop it in the chat while I'm pulling this up.
Yeah. Sure.
And so check that out there. All right, so we're gonna listen to "Summer Storm Is Coming" from Jan Klein Swarming, I hope. And they say, very nice initiative. Keep going. Thank you for the support. I'm not sure. We should have been checking, I guess, as we were doing this. We knew Gavin was here because he's been participating so much, but
yes,
we should have been checking if everybody was present. But let's go to our MP3s and we'll see what we get. And this one we're just going to be brutal, right?
Rip it, tear it.
This one does have a score, but unfortunately we're not.
Yeah.
We'll go that far, I guess. And just to see where we end up. Do we think that's the whole cue? Yeah. All right. So we listened to about half of the whole cue.
Awesome.
A lot of air, which I think is really nice.
Yes.
People are afraid. I had a poll that said, what's the hardest section to write for? And people majority said woodwinds. So respect for using your woodwinds. Right?
Yes.
Absolutely. Definitely. Alex, say one more and you get 15. All right. Do you have time for another one after this?
Yeah,
Alex
we can do one more.
And we have his track. Did we do? All right, Alejandro, I don't know if you're here as well, but yeah, Alex, we'll get to you. We'll get to you next. All right, we have time. All right, so my apologies. Let's get back to the one we're listening to now. All right, so yeah, I like that they're using woodwinds. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of those cases where there's a really kind of nice theme happening in the top, like a standard passage happening, and then there's a really nice support on the bottom, and there's there's a bit of a gap to me in kind of the middle. Like I know there's some instruments there in the middle kind of filling it up, but at the same time it feels like there could be an additional element in kind of the mid-range to just balance it out a little bit more.
That pitch register?
I think so. So yeah, there's no strings there in the middle. Just
my biggest question is kind of what am I focusing on or I'm not quite clear on what's the foreground.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah.
And like, is there a line? Is this a little more textural? And again, to that idea of gray, if this was more textural, lean into that. Like have a little more, like let your winds be a little more active, or like I think that it's not. I think that there's a featured line, but it's not 100% clear.
That's what I'm trying to figure out as well.
Like if you listen to like a Brahms symphony, which has a similar kind of orchestral palette, and it may be passing between like a lick in the cellos and then to the clarinets or something, you very clearly know which one you're supposed to be kind of zoomed in on.
Right.
Cut to the cellos, cut to the clarinets or something. It's so if you're doing that kind of thing where you're kind of passing motives and developing motives between sections, that's great. But then it's like, I guess you can't have everybody playing all the time then, because then it's like, which one am I supposed to be hearing? So if it's the cellos, let's hear the cellos. If it's the winds, let's hear the winds. If that makes sense.
No, totally. Yeah. I think that's maybe what I was trying to vocalize, is that there's a sense of and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but a sense of like uneasiness, because it's like we're trying to figure out like what is the foreground, what is the featured element, and you know, your chords kind of continue up, and then the woodwinds kind of come in a little bit later with kind of a lick there, but then there's only like a drum on the bottom, maybe, and then there's the kind of the string stuff in the middle enhancing it. But there's like slight holes here and there in the frequency register that my ears are kind of asking to be filled up, and so maybe that could just be a couple of instruments here and there that you know, just balance it out occasionally when those gaps come. But I guess getting clear on what the actual presentation of the lead thing is, right?
Like that violin line, I'm not quite clear. Is that like it comes in on its own, so da da da, but not only does it say da 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 da, but then it moves. So if it was just da 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 da, if it was a repeating pattern, I'd be like, okay, this is going to be a supporting part.
Right.
Something's going to come up on this, but it starts moving. So at first I'm like, oh, supporting part, but it's going somewhere. So I need to keep listening to this. So it must be like keeping my attention. But if that's keeping my attention and then something else comes in, I'm like, wait, is that what's supposed to be on my attention?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess my biggest thing, I like the fact that you're using a lot of orchestral colors. I do have a hard time focusing on who's in charge. What's the line? I guess like I like to think of if I had to hum this, I get one note. If I had to hum this, what part am I humming? Because if I have to hum Indiana Jones, I know which part I'm humming. You know?
Yeah.
Or even like I said, a Brahms symphony, I know which part.
Yes.
If I had to choose one, I know which one it is. And in this case, I'm like, I don't know what part am I going to hum with this?
Exactly.
I'm not quite sure. Cool. Any other thoughts? Or
I think we covered that. Yeah.
All right. So Alex pointed out he was here and we didn't get to his, but we'd gotten to. I didn't even realize we'd listened to almost everything. So I'm sorry for being like, we can't do it. We had heard almost everything. There were a couple. I guess we did this one. We didn't get to everything. There would still be from Alejandro and Joel. So if they're here, we will get to theirs. Otherwise, I think we're going to do Alex's, and then we'll call it, right?
All right. Perfect.
And unless we hear from Alejandro or Joel, but so we're not going to need our random number generator.
There we go.
As much as I like it. So this is 13, Death from Tarot, from Alex Christodoulou. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you. But what is your piece? So death, I guess. Death.
Should be.
That's what we're going for. And we're going to end on a high note with death. Right?
So high. Yeah.
Right. Sorry, I'm gonna let it run a little bit. I don't want to stop it. I'm gonna stop it just because we have to, but I don't want to, which is a great sign. And the first thing I want to point out is that both of us were sitting here nodding our heads.
Yeah, that was a groove. That was good. That was
really
great.
cool. Really cool. Oh man, there's a lot to say.
Absolutely.
Do you want to lead us, or
yeah? Well, I mean, immediately I got like Prokofiev type of vibes, right? Just like really,
sure, yeah.
And like there was a lot of intention behind it, and I definitely get the sense that everything is well balanced, which automatically makes the listening experience a lot easier, and enjoyable, and everything just feels like it's positioned in the right way to my ears from upon the first listen. And yeah, it feels like you took a lot of like care to make sure the parts were kind of arranged properly, and you brought like there were no parts that felt they were overly busy or anything. Like everything felt like it had a specific purpose, which is hard to
there was a lot of clarity. Like every part was clear and specific, and
yeah,
that was something. I mean, sorry to knock on other people's stuff, but there was sometimes, I think, when we're saying like we're not quite sure what's going on, I think sometimes it's because you've put like horns and trombones and clarinets and violas and everything on a part that is just kind of this, that same way of like the gray, like pick a side. Here the timbres are so crisp, like I can hear that certain sound. One thing I want to point out is that I was worried this is going to be like a big, heavy, slow thing, death. I was like, oh no, we're going to end on this like thing. And it's not. It's very exciting and interesting, but it still fits that metaphor.
Yeah.
Like to me now, I realize this is more of like death, the guy in the robe, more
right. Like someone dancing around, like
more than like the sorrow of So this worked out. Yeah. Oh, it's really cool. There was also a moment where I was like, yes, there's a breath. All right, I'm going to start from the beginning.
Yeah, go for it.
There's a lot of great stuff going on. So one thing I think is really great, we talked earlier about there was a piece where kind of piano and cello were starting at the exact same time, and it was a little confusing. So here, starting with the piano, and then the piano rolls, and we have a second for a space, then we get that roll in.
Right.
So it's not a bump because we've got that kind of like opening. They're taking their moment to come in instead of just like kind of sitting on something like, well, where did that guy come from? It's more of like, I'm seeing my shot and I'm coming in for it. I think it's really nice.
For sure.
And then we're kind of like, oh, okay, cool. There's more. High strings is really nice.
Atmosphere.
There's another thing that's really nice too. I don't really have much critical to say. The one thing I think, I'm just going to point out some things I really like. I really like how you bring in those high strings to kind of add some air to that moment, but then you don't need them to stay. Like when you don't need them anymore, they stop. I think a lot of people's instinct would be like, okay, now the violins are coming in. And then and I guess I could talk to people a lot about, there's this, I think because of DAWs and just because of software, and also because a lot of us, myself included, came from like a rock background. Like I played guitar in bands and stuff. So there's this instinct to just add layers, that you lay down that piano groove, and then you would put the drums underneath it and keep them going. And then you would put the high strings on top, and, it's just like the layers are layers. And this is showing that, this is not the layers approach. This is like orchestrating each intentional moment and each gesture. So let me find that part again with the high strings.
Yeah, such a
and then they're out when you don't need them anymore.
Great, yeah.
I really like this. This is really cool. Oh, that was what I wanted to point out. That breath. So cadence. When I say, I talked about like railing on cadences. When I say cadence, I don't mean that you have to go like 4, 5, 1. Like that's not what I mean. Yeah. Maybe we need a different word. I think it's more akin, like I said, about punctuation marks in writing.
Yeah.
The same way that you would need a comma, you need a period or an exclamation point or whatever. You know, we need that language in music, don't we? They're like, you need an exclamation point, you need a period, you need like that. It doesn't quite, saying you need a cadence can make some people think, okay, I need to like resolve the seventh to the one, you know, like no, more it's just, let me find where it was. This. It's that chance to breathe and that chance to process. Like you've heard this, Alex, you've heard this 1,600 times as you're going over it, but your audience, I'm saying this as you know this, but your audience is hearing it for the first time. So they need to process. They need to think about what just happened. And then again, set the stage that if something's new is going to happen, like give me a second before you do it. I mean, if you watch a movie, you know, you expect, this is a rant, but one of my problems with, I don't know, so this will make some people upset, with Attack of the Clones, I think. Is that Revenge of the Sith, episode 3. One of my problems with that movie was that it felt like it was just jumping into the middles of scenes, just because it was trying to fit so much in. And it was like, oh, the twins are being born, but no, we're over here now. Like, and it was just like, there wasn't this kind of like building of scenes to me as much.
Right.
So you need that, like, kind of like let the emotion that we were on kind of simmer before, if we're going to cut to something else. Go.
Good point. Yeah.
It's a cool track. I like it.
Awesome.
It's the cool death I'd like to have. Did you write? Did you compose your own funeral music? Is that what this is?
Oh,
Death
that's
like
great.
Oh, super sea monkey. I see you there. Like creepy Jack skeleton.
Love it.
All right. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Cool. I'm glad we're ending on that one. That's a cool track.
Yeah, absolutely. That was fun.
So thank you everybody who's been here. This has been enjoyable. Oh, we went to 1 o'clock. Wow, we ended like right.
Yeah, it was like literally.
Look at that. We're running a little
Perfect.
over. So if you don't know Chris's work, check out his YouTube channel and check out the guide he's put on here.
Thanks a lot.
In the share. And then is your YouTube channel, is there a link on there?
Yeah, well, I just put it earlier in the chat.
It's his name. Look up his name. You'll find him there. And then, yeah, thanks so much, everybody.